Ready.
Ready, going. Okay, go. Where do we start? We want to start at the heart? Okay, we'll start at the heart and go up from our, what is this?
Right atrium.
Right atrium. You're going to need to identify this chamber in the heart of the cat, not dissect it, just like this. From the right atrium, we come up to the superior vena cava. Behind the heart, we're going to go down through the lungs into the inferior vena cava. Surrounding the heart, we have the pericardium. If I put a pin through this outer layer of the heart, it would call the epicardium. Inside of the heart, the muscle layer is called the
myocardium.
Inside the chamber is called endocardium. Okay, back up from this right atrium, superior vena cava, splits. Looks like my internal memory has been cut away, so I won't worry about that so much. Oh, here it is. First split away is the internal mammary vein. From that, everything from that internal mammary up to my next arch, this Y right here, brachiocephalic vein. Okay? I'm going to split up from my brachiocephalic to both my cephalic region and my brachial region. Ran out of battery?
Yes. No, ran out of room.
Okay. Cephalic. What's going up to my cephalic region? Everybody. The jugular vein. Okay. So from brachiocephalic to the jugular vein, splitting away from my brachial region. Right. What do I have here?
Axillary.
This is still brachiocephalic. I tricked you. Okay. Going behind the clavicle. What's that one? Subclavian, okay? Subclavian splits off to this vessel, which becomes the axillary. Axillary splits deep and out. The deep is the
Subscapular.
subscapular. Out is my brachial vein. Okay? From the heart, my arteries. What's this top thing right here?
Aortic arch.
Aortic arch. Aortic arch is going to go down to thoracic aorta and splits up. This is brachiocephalic. This is technically just brachial, but we still call it brachiocephalic. Okay? This is the easiest to identify.
Mammary.
Internal mammary artery. Okay? From the internal mammary artery, I'm going to go up. This is technically, both of these are brachiocephalic. From here, going up to what?
Carotid.
Carotid artery, sides of the neck, jugular vein, carotid artery. Out from that, okay, this is going to go behind my clavicle. My first split past my internal mammary, going to my clavicle. That makes it the subclavian artery. Past that split, I've got the same split as my vein. I'm going to split deep into the arm. What is this split called?
Axillary.
Axillary. Okay? Deep goes to subscapular. Out goes to brachial artery. Okay? That's the top half of vessels. Here's my respiratory system. I've got my epiglottis. This is my flap of tissue that's going to cover up my windpipe when I swallow. The glottis is the space between the vocal cords. Here are my vocal cords, these two flaps of connective tissue here. If I pin this, this is the epiglottis. Covering the vocal cords on the outside, we've got thyroid cartilage. Below that, we've got cricoid cartilage. Okay? Stick that little bugger back in there. And let's go down past the diaphragm. Well, first of all, you need to know what these are. What are these?
Lungs.
Lungs. If I put a pin on the outside of the lung, what would it be?
Visceral pleura.
Visceral pleura. Pleura means of the lungs. If I put a pin between these ribs, what tissue would I be pointing to?
Intercostal.
Intercostal muscle. Okay, here's my costal cartilage off of the ends of my ribs. Intercostal muscle is easy to pin. Hint, hint. Okay, what is this organ called?
Diaphragm.
The diaphragm, this thin layer of muscle that separates my thoracic cavity from my abdominal cavity. The first organ that I come to is the
Liver.
Within the liver, I have embedded the
Gallbladder.
Below the gallbladder is the
Stomach.
Below the stomach is the
Spleen.
What is this layer of connective tissue? The
Your gut.
greater omentum. Okay? Greater omentum covers all of my abdominal organs. What is this connective tissue between the layers of my small intestines?
Mesentery.
Mesentery. Very important that I know what the mesentery is. Then I've got my colon, my ovaries that are connected to my uterus, and my extremely enlarged urinary bladder. Okay? Now, knowing those organs, we need to do our vessels that are associated with them. This is before the diaphragm, so what would I call this vessel? This red vessel here. Anybody?
Esophagus.
Thoracic
Thoracic.
aorta. Okay, on the other side, I see that my azygous vein follows the same path. Okay, azygous vein, thoracic aorta. Once I pass the diaphragm, it becomes my
Abdominal.
abdominal aorta. The abdominal aorta follows the spine. The first split off of my abdominal aorta past the diaphragm is my celiac trunk. The celiac trunk splits 3 ways. First to my splenic artery goes to the,
The
hepatic artery goes to the liver, first one. Second one is goes to my stomach, which is the gastric artery. Third one goes down to my spleen, the splenic artery. Gastric trunk splits 3 ways: liver, stomach, spleen. Hepatic, gastric, splenic. Okay? The next split down on my abdominal aorta is my superior mesenteric artery. Okay? Goes right down in this diagonal fashion. Below that, the next split down on my abdominal aorta is my renal artery, since we're talking about arteries. I can also see clearly my renal vein. Okay? Down from that, the next split would be my gonadal, or in this case, ovarian artery. Make it down further and I get to Crotchman. Crotchman. Crotchman's head is the inferior mesenteric artery. Goes straight down to supply blood to my mesenteric artery. Okay? The arms of Crotchman, really? Arms of Crotchman, iliolumbar artery, iliolumbar vein. Both are easy to see as long as I can situate myself and see that this is inferior mesenteric. These must be the arms. These are the legs. That makes this iliolumbar. Okay? Next down, I've got the legs, external and internal iliac. External on the outside, internal goes deep. For my veins, external is the one that I can see easily. I would have to dissect way further down to see the internal iliac vein. Okay? Once I pass the hip joint, I become the femoral vein and artery. Once I pass the knee joint, this becomes the great saphenous vein, which we can see they injected the dye into the great saphenous vein here. I think that's it. Happy birthday!